I used to dream about my wedding day like it was a fairy tale. I pictured myself in a white dress, flowers in my hands, walking down the aisle with my heart pounding in the best way possible. I imagined the way he would look at me, like I was the only woman in the world. I held on to that dream for years, and finally the day arrived. I woke up before the sun, too excited to sleep. My bridesmaids were buzzing around, doing hair, fixing makeup, making jokes to calm my nerves. I smiled through it all. My dress was perfect. The music was set. Guests were already arriving. My mom teared up when she saw me in my gown. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the start of forever. Then, everything changed. One of the bridesmaids stepped into the room, pale and shaky. She leaned in and whispered something that I still hear in my nightmares. "He's not here." I blinked. "What do you mean he's not here?" She looked down. "Ryan, he's gone. He left. No note, nothing." Time stopped. I thought it was a joke, a cruel prank. I laughed, nervously. Then I saw her face. She wasn't joking. The man I was supposed to marry, the man I trusted with my whole heart, just vanished. No goodbye, no explanation, just disappeared and left me standing there in a dress meant for a future that no longer existed. And in that moment, with my heart breaking and the world spinning around me, all I could think was, why? Before everything fell apart, I was just a simple girl with big dreams. I didn't come from money. My parents worked hard for every single thing we had. They taught me to be kind, loyal, and to never take anything for granted. I wasn't flashy, I wasn't popular, but I was proud of who I was becoming. I met Ryan during my second year of college. He was everything I wasn't: confident, flashy, and effortlessly charming. His family had wealth, status, connections, all the things I had only seen from afar. But what surprised me the most was how much attention he paid to me. He would wait for me after class, bring me coffee, ask me about my day like it really mattered to him. At first I thought it was a joke. Why would someone like him chase someone like me? But he didn't stop, and slowly, I let my guard down. We started dating, and it was like a whirlwind. Fancy dinners, spontaneous trips, expensive gifts I never asked for. He said I was refreshing, that I grounded him, made him feel real. I fell for that version of him so hard. His parents didn't approve of me. His mother once told him I wasn't on their level, but Ryan didn't care. At least, that's what he told me. He said he'd choose me over them any day. I believed him. Over time I made sacrifices for us. I turned down a promotion because he wanted me to move to a different city with him. I gave up things I'd worked so hard for, because I thought love was about compromise. There were hard times, sure. He went through a rough patch when his business plans failed. I was the one who stayed up comforting him, holding him when he cried, reminding him that success would come again. Through it all, I believed love was enough, that we were strong enough to make it through anything. I thought if I just held on tight enough, he would see that I was the one. I didn't know back then that someone can love how you make them feel, without ever truly loving you. Looking back now, the signs were always there. I just didn't want to see them. Or maybe I saw them, and hoped they would go away. Ryan was charming, yes, but underneath the charm, there was arrogance. He always had to be the center of attention. If someone else was getting more praise or admiration, he'd find a way to shift the spotlight back to himself. When we were out with friends, he'd make jokes at my expense, calling me too serious or too plain. People would laugh, and I'd force a smile even though it hurt. Later he'd apologize with flowers, or some expensive gift, saying he didn't mean it that way. I convinced myself that it wasn't a big deal, that maybe I was just being too sensitive. His mother never hid her dislike for me. She didn't see me as an equal, just a girl from a modest family who wasn't good enough for her son. When I visited their house, she'd ask me to help clean up or run errands, even while the other guests relaxed. I felt more like the help than a future daughter-in-law, but I stayed quiet. I didn't want to cause problems. Then there was the flirting. Ryan had this way of charming other women, waitresses, colleagues, even mutual friends. He'd say it was harmless, that he was just being friendly. If I ever brought it up, he'd laugh and accuse me of being insecure. He rarely listened. When I spoke about my goals or worries, he'd zone out or change the subject. But when he needed comfort or praise, I was expected to drop everything and be there. And I always was. There were moments, small, painful ones, when I felt invisible next to him. But I told myself that love wasn't always easy, that patience mattered, that relationships required effort and understanding. I thought if I just gave more, loved harder, proved myself again and again, he would finally see my worth. I kept thinking, this is just a phase, he's under stress, he'll grow up, he'll change. But deep down, a quiet voice kept whispering, this isn't right, and I ignored it. I silenced it with hope, because I wanted the dream more than I wanted the truth. The morning of the wedding was beautiful, the sky was clear, the sun was warm, and everything looked exactly how I had dreamed it. My dress fit perfectly, the flowers were even more beautiful than I imagined. Music played softly in the background, as guests started arriving, laughing, and hugging, dressed in their finest. I stood in front of the mirror, hands trembling with excitement. This was the day, our day, the start of our forever. I kept glancing at the clock, counting down the minutes, until I would walk down the aisle. My heart was pounding, not with fear, but with hope. Then, something shifted. At first, it was subtle, a bridesmaid whispering something to another, a glance exchanged, a pause in the music. Then one of my close friends, Emma, rushed into the bridal room. Her face was pale, her hands shaking as she held her phone and a crumpled piece of paper. I could tell, something was wrong. She hesitated before speaking, like she was still trying to believe it herself. Ryan's not here, she whispered. I blinked. What do you mean? He's not in the groom's suite. She looked down, then handed me the note. One of the groomsmen found this, in his things. He's gone, and this is all he left behind. I unfolded the paper with trembling hands. She's not my type, I just couldn't do it. Too boring, too plain. I want someone exciting. My whole body went cold. I read it again, and again, hoping it would magically change, that it was a cruel joke, but it wasn't. Ryan had left me, on our wedding day, with no explanation, no courage to even face me, just that note, that careless, heartless note. I dropped it, and sank to the floor in my wedding dress. My hands covered my face, but I couldn't stop the sobs. The dream I had carried for years had shattered in seconds. Outside the room, whispers grew louder. Guests were confused. Some were already checking their phones. A few started leaving. My parents came in, angry and heartbroken. My mother was crying, and my father looked like he wanted to storm out and find Ryan himself. And then his mother walked in. She didn't even look surprised, just shook her head and said coldly, "We always knew she wasn't fit for our family." That sentence cut deeper than the note. I wanted to scream, to tear off the dress, to disappear, but I couldn't move. I sat there on the floor, surrounded by the flowers, the dress, the silence. Everything I had poured my heart into, gone. Just like that. Humiliated, betrayed, discarded like I was nothing. The worst part, I still loved him. Even then, some part of me hoped he'd walk through that door, say it was a mistake, but he didn't. He never did. That day didn't just break my heart, it broke a part of who I was. The days after the wedding felt like a blur, a heavy dark fog I couldn't escape from. I stopped eating, I couldn't sleep. I didn't answer calls. I just lay in bed, still half dressed in pain and shame, replaying that moment over and over again. I felt like a fool. Everywhere I looked, there were reminders. My dress hung on the door, untouched wedding gifts in the living room, flower petals still scattered around the hallway. It all felt like a cruel joke. And then, the internet found me. Someone had snapped a photo of me crying in the bridal room. Another posted a screenshot of the note Ryan had left. It went viral. Strangers mocked me online, calling me the dumped bride, plain Jane, the one he left. The comments were brutal. Can you blame him? She looks boring. He did her a favor. Each word pierced deeper than the last. Ryan vanished. Completely. He blocked my number. His family stopped responding. No explanation, no closure. Just silence. Like I had never mattered. I deleted all my social media accounts. I couldn't bear to see my name become a punchline. I stopped going out. I stopped talking to my friends. I even took a leave from work. I just wanted to disappear. I remember sitting at the kitchen table one evening, staring into space, when my mom sat across from me. She didn't say much, just held my hand and said quietly, "One day, you'll rise, and he'll regret every second of this. But first, you have to believe that this isn't the end of your story." I didn't believe her then. I didn't think I ever could, but those words stayed with me. They settled deep inside my broken heart, like a tiny seed waiting for light. Healing didn't happen overnight. It wasn't some dramatic movie moment, where everything suddenly made sense. It started small, barely noticeable. One day, my mom handed me a flyer she found at a local cafe. It was for a women's therapy group. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to talk. But something inside me whispered, "Try." So I did. At first, I just listened. Sat in a circle with women who had their own stories of heartbreak, loss, betrayal. Slowly I started to share. Not everything, not right away, but enough to feel lighter. I began journaling. Every day. Pouring out all the pain I couldn't say out loud. Writing helped me breathe again. It didn't fix me, but it gave the pain somewhere to go. And then, one night, I found my old sketchbook. Before Ryan, before the wedding, before everything, I used to dream of being a fashion designer. I had put that dream away, thinking it was silly, impractical, unrealistic. But as I flipped through those old drawings, something in me stirred. That little spark I thought I'd lost. It was still there. I started sketching again. At first, just to cope. My drawings were raw, angry, emotional, full of fire, but they were me. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was creating from my soul. I applied for a mentorship with a well-known designer, one I had admired for years. I didn't think I had a chance. But I wrote an honest application, included my recent sketches, and sent it off with a quiet prayer. 2 weeks later, I got the email. I was accepted. I threw myself into the work. Day and night, I sketched, cut, stitched, designed. Every ounce of pain, every sleepless night, every tear, I turned it into fabric and thread. I didn't want to just make clothes. I wanted to tell a story. My story. A year later, I launched my first collection. I called it Resilience. Each piece represented a stage of my healing, grief, survival, strength, rebirth. I didn't expect much. I just wanted to share what I had created with the world. But then, a celebrity wore one of my dresses at a major event. She posted about the story behind it. My story. Everything exploded. Articles, interviews, orders from around the world. Suddenly people were talking about my work. Not just because it looked beautiful, but because it meant something. I became known for emotional storytelling through fashion. For turning heartbreak into art. For rising from the kind of pain that nearly broke me. The night of the fashion gala felt surreal. Lights, cameras, red carpet, the kind of evening I used to only dream about. And now, I was the guest of honor. My collection had taken the industry by storm, and I was being recognized, not just as a designer, but as a storyteller. I stood there, smiling, thanking people, posing for photos, soaking in a moment I had earned with every tear and every sleepless night. And then, I saw him. Ryan. He walked in with a blonde socialite on his arm, the kind you see in magazines. But what stopped me cold was the dress she was wearing. One of mine. A design from the Resilience collection. I watched his eyes land on me. There was a flicker of something recognition, maybe even regret. He made his way through the crowd, like none of the past had happened. "Wow," he said, looking me up and down. "You look different. Expensive." I laughed softly. Not bitter, not angry, just amused. He went on like nothing ever happened, like he hadn't disappeared on our wedding day. Like he hadn't shattered me. "I've been meaning to reach out," he said. "Maybe we could catch up sometime. Talk." I met his eyes, calm, steady. "I'm actually busy tonight," I said with a gentle smile. with someone who sees my worth without needing to lose me first. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. I walked away before he could find the words. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need revenge. This moment, my moment, was enough. Later that night, as the lights dimmed and the applause faded into a hush, I stepped onto the stage. The host handed me the mic and smiled. Cameras flashed. All eyes were on me. I took a deep breath and looked out at the crowd, designers, celebrities, editors. And somewhere in the back, Ryan. I want to dedicate this moment. I began. To all the people who once told me I wasn't enough. There was a pause. To the ones who called me plain, boring. Who left without looking back. Who thought I would break and never rise. The room erupted in cheers. I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. I stood tall in a gown I had designed myself, stitched from pain, sewn with strength. Every eye saw me. Every voice celebrated me. And Ryan. He stood in the shadows, watching, silent, small. Afterward, as I walked through the crowd, I saw her, his mother. She stepped forward with a forced smile, her hand halfway out to greet me. "You've come a long way," she said. I looked at her, nodded politely, and walked right past her. No anger, no words, just silence. Because I finally understood something. The best revenge isn't rage or loud victories. It's quiet confidence. It's thriving without them. It's becoming everything they said you couldn't be. And that night, I didn't just win an award. I reclaimed my worth. Looking back now, I don't feel anger anymore. I don't hate Ryan. If anything, I pity him. Because while he ran from commitment, from discomfort, from depth, I ran into myself. I found the parts of me I had silenced. The dreams I had buried. The strength I never knew I had. Heartbreak was the beginning, not the end. It forced me to rebuild, to grow, to become someone I'm proud of. I learned how to stand alone, how to love myself, how to trust my voice. Even when it shakes. Ryan thought he was walking away from someone boring. But he was really walking away from someone unstoppable. And the truth is, life gave me a gift that day. It didn't feel like it at the time. It felt like the end of everything. But now, I know better. Sometimes, being left behind is the best thing that ever happens to you. Because it clears the path for the life you're meant to live. A life that's honest, whole, and truly yours. So to anyone out there sitting in the ruins of a broken dream, don't give up. You are not what they did to you. You are who you choose to become next. And that story, it's still being written. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how this story touched you or inspired you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, for more powerful stories just like this. Stories about strength, healing, and never giving up. And always remember, no matter what you're going through, you are stronger than you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.